Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. So the dust has barely settled on Liverpool's Carabao Cup defeat to Chelsea, and we've already got the best possible opportunity to get our revenge on them with a fixture in the Premier League on Saturday evening at Stamford Bridge, which gives us a chance to go 5 points clear of them at the top of the Premier League table. And obviously, whatever happens in Man City's game will happen, so, you know, it's always possible that we could only be 2 points clear. But to be 5 points clear of a team like Chelsea at this stage of the season would be absolutely phenomenal, especially given how well they've started the season as well. And I also think it's probably our best opportunity to make our biggest statement of the season so far, and it does feel like we've basically been making statement wins every single week. I mean, the game against Tottenham was a statement win. You can even go back to the ones against Crystal Palace and Leicester. Really difficult away grounds that we managed to get wins at. And, of course, the one against PSG at Anfield as well, where we re-announced ourselves on the European stage for the start of the Champions League season. But I think this would certainly be the biggest statement so far because it's probably our toughest test, certainly domestically. Obviously, the Spurs one was a difficult game and it was incredibly impressive that Liverpool got the win there. But I think as the season's gone on, it's kind of become clear that Spurs aren't actually that great and probably won't be challenging for the title this season, whereas Chelsea will definitely be up there or thereabouts come the end of the season. And it's also the start of an incredibly important week for Liverpool as well, and I feel like this is the only week of the season where I look at our next couple of fixtures and stuff like that and think, actually, I'd take a couple of drop points here and there. If you offered me 7 points from these games against Chelsea, Napoli and Man City, I'd probably take that because I think that would stand us in pretty good stead no matter where we get the relative results to get that kind of points total. So this is an absolutely massive week for Liverpool, and we just need to make sure we start it off with a win, especially after that Carabao Cup defeat, because if we lose against Chelsea again, then questions will probably start to be asked of Liverpool, even though we've had such an incredible start to the season already. To lose back-to-back with both games against one of your rivals for the Premier League title and for a lot of silverware this season would obviously be a cause for concern, and it would start people worrying about whether or not Liverpool can fully go the distance. Whereas I think if we do beat Chelsea, we just put ourselves back on track for the rest of the season, and suddenly all everyone's talking about is once again how absolutely great Liverpool are. And like I said, it just affords us that little bit of wiggle room with the next two fixtures after this against Napoli and against Manchester City as well. So fingers crossed Liverpool can get the win. It is an absolutely massive game, and hopefully we can put that Carabao Cup defeat to the back of our minds. As for team news going into this game, Jurgen Klopp had his press conference just earlier on, a few minutes before I started recording this, and the update he gave on Virgil van Dijk was either promising or upsetting, depending on where you want to look at it. It kind of depends on whether you were expecting Van Dijk to start this weekend. He has said that Van Dijk hasn't been training with the squad, which is a bad sign, but he will be assessed further, I think, today and potentially even tomorrow as well. So there's still a possibility of Virgil van Dijk featuring in this game, despite the fact he missed out in midweek and he sustained that injury against Southampton last weekend. But if you were expecting him to start and you thought he was 100% nailed on, then it's probably bad news because it is very much up in the air at the moment. And we probably won't know for sure until Jurgen Klopp puts out his starting 11 at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. So apart from that, no real huge injury problems for Liverpool. I think we'll certainly see a return to normality with our starting 11 after the heavily rotated team that was put out against Chelsea. But with these huge fixtures coming up after this, away in Naples and then against Man City next weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if Jurgen Klopp still does a bit of tinkering. Obviously, earlier on in the season, we saw a very similar starting 11 for pretty much every game. Those 4 games, I think it was the same team for the first 3, and then he makes one change in the midfield for that last one against Leicester. I think this is where we start to see Jurgen Klopp use his squad a little bit more, not just in terms of hurling out a second string in the League Cup, but in terms of rotating every single game to try and maintain freshness throughout all the players. So I think the starting 11 will certainly be very, very interesting going into this game. If you ask me what it's going to be, I think we go with Alisson Becker in goal. Mignolet did fine against Chelsea, but at the end of the day, he is not the best keeper Liverpool have got by a long shot. That is Alisson Becker, so I'm expecting him to start. At right back, I think you go with Trent Alexander-Arnold. He got a nice little rest for that game against Chelsea in the week, and he should be raring to go for this and hopefully prove just how valuable he is after when we played Nathaniel Clyne against Chelsea. Just didn't really work out, and I think we've all realised just how important Trent Alexander-Arnold and and Andy Robertson are to our system. We need those attacking fullbacks in the side. So I'm expecting Trent to start. I'm expecting Andy Robertson to start at left back as well. And then the centre back pairing, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I think Joe Gomez is absolutely nailed on to start. I think if Van Dijk is fit, he does play. If he doesn't, then it's probably Joel Matip who comes in for him, because Lovren is just not quite there yet in terms of fitness. He's only played one game so far this season, and he did fine in the Carabao Cup, but Joel Matip is just obviously a little bit further on in terms of getting up his match fitness for this season, and to be honest, hasn't really put too much of a foot wrong this season. Obviously, I wouldn't be as confident with a Matip and Gomez partnership as I would with a Van Dijk and Gomez partnership. But I think the key problem with Van Dijk is, even if he is ready for this game, he hasn't been training. And I know it's only been a short layoff. It's not like he's been out for 4 weeks or anything like that, where players do need a little bit of time to build up their fitness and rhythm and stuff like that. But it is still a concern that maybe he won't quite be sharp. And while Matip is a drop-off, it's not a horrendous drop-off to throw him in. So if you ask me now who I was going to put money on, I'd probably say it will be Matip and Joe Gomez as the centre-back pairing. And then the midfield, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because this is where I think there are a lot of questions about what Liverpool are going to do and who is going to play in the centre of the park. I think you put Jordan Henderson in that number 6 role. He had a fairly all-right cameo against Chelsea in the League Cup. I think you then put Gini Wijnaldum further ahead of him. Those players basically just starting because they didn't start against Chelsea. And then I think the final midfield of the three is probably going to be James Milner. I think there is a shout for Naby Keita in there because, you know, he's a little bit fitter. James Milner has been basically playing weekend and midweek since the end of the international break, and that will take a toll on him at some point. But I think Naby Keita, because he played the full 90 and because Milner is just so reliable. Milner also got taken off in the game against Chelsea and only played 45 minutes last weekend, and I feel like the substitution that was made when he came off against Chelsea in the League Cup was probably made with wanting to play him this weekend in mind. And I just think a midfielder like Milner is perfect for this game, especially away from home. You know, you want someone with experience, you want someone who's still very, very talented on the ball, also someone who's tough in the tackle, and someone who can occasionally get in the referee's ear a little bit, that kind of vice-captain side of him coming out there. So I think we'll go with Milner in the midfield and then Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum, which is all right. You know, I'm a little bit disappointed that we can't try and fit Henderson in a bit further up the pitch so that we can play Gini Wijnaldum in the number 6. But what happened against Chelsea in the League Cup was we brought Henderson on and he had Fabinho alongside him, and there just seemed to be a little bit of confusion about who was the defensive midfielder and who was meant to be a little bit further forward, and I think that did disrupt our shape. So I feel like Klopp will probably want to just go with Henderson as the number 6 and then just tell Gini Wijnaldum to go a little bit further forward, and then maybe if that's not working, we can always switch it up later on in the game. And then I think the front three, you go with Mohamed Salah, definitely, because he didn't start against Chelsea. The same with Sadio, with Roberto Firmino as well. And then probably Sadio Mane. I mean, there are shouts for a potential start for Shaqiri in there. Maybe Daniel Sturridge as well, because Mane obviously plays in the week and you'd expect us to want to use him in the games against Napoli and City as well. But, you know, I just think he's so good and so vital to how we play with the rest of our front three as well. And if you take all those front three players, I think he's had the best start to the season out of all three of them. So I think it's vital that we play him in this game. So I think he will feature in the front three alongside Firmino and Salah. So taking a look at Chelsea then, obviously we already have a little bit of an idea of what they're going to be like after playing them on Wednesday night, but I do think the team that we'll come up against on Saturday will have much more of a Maurizio Sarri imprint on it than the one that we played on Wednesday night, simply because on Wednesday night there was a lot of rotation in there. The kind of players who Sarri will probably be mostly leaving out for the big games because he doesn't feel like they've got to grips with his system yet. You know, I'm thinking about players like Victor Moses, like Morata, like Gary Cahill, all those kind of players who you don't expect to start this weekend. And it does feel like already there is an identity emerging around Chelsea with that Maurizio Sarri imprint. They have obviously started the season incredibly well and they're playing really good football, which I think has surprised a lot of people, because after playing for so long under Mourinho and under Antonio Conte, we haven't seen Chelsea play free-flowing attacking football for like half a decade now, and that is an incredibly long time. So I think it's impressive how they have started the season, and Liverpool will have to be wary that what they are going to be coming up against this weekend, while it's not, you know, a well-oiled machine, they're certainly not at the level that Liverpool are at in terms of implementing the manager's vision. They will still be incredibly threatening. However, the thing that really excites me about this game and gives me a lot of hope and optimism is the fact that Chelsea's defence hasn't really been tested too much this season, and when it has occasionally come under pressure, I'm thinking mainly of the game against Arsenal, the second game of the season at Stamford Bridge. they didn't crumble, but they certainly did have a lot of gaps that could be exposed, and Arsenal caused them a hell of a lot of problems. And I mean, I know Chelsea won that game 3-2. But if Arsenal could actually finish any of their chances, they could have won that 5-3 or whatever. So hopefully Liverpool are very good at finishing their chances, which has been a bit of a problem so far this season. We'll have to just cross our fingers that Firmino, Salah and Mane have all finally got their shooting boots on. But I think it will certainly be interesting to see just how much pressure Liverpool put Chelsea's defence under, especially those Chelsea fullbacks as well. And I'm thinking mainly of Marcos Alonso, who does tend to go walkabout a little bit. He's obviously a fantastic attacking fullback. He's a bit like Marcelo or Benjamin Mendy in that he offers so much going forward, but when it comes to questions being asked of him defensively, if he's up against a fantastic player like Salah and an incredibly quick player like Salah as well, and also with Trent Alexander-Arnold on the same side, then I think we could cause him some serious problems, and that could probably be where Liverpool try and get their goals from. Chelsea have also got a few fitness issues as well. I think Rudiger is touch and go for this game. It's the same with Pedro as well, which could end up playing into our hands because I think Sarri does seem to prefer Pedro over Willian. I think his first choice front three at the moment is probably Hazard, Giroud and then Pedro. So the fact that Pedro either won't be playing or will not be at 100% is a huge boost for Liverpool, because it also means that, you know, Willian played at the weekend, so he's going to be a little bit tired, and it means we can potentially just double up on Eden Hazard, who is obviously their #1 threat and the player that we really want to watch out for. And the thing that does worry me as well is they'll probably play Giroud at the weekend, and he's the striker who seems to be getting the best out of Eden Hazard at the moment, out of him and Alvaro Morata. He seems really good at doing that thing which has been Liverpool's undoing in the past, which is winning those knockdowns from long balls forward and then playing it down to a pacey and tricky winger who's also got a hell of a finish on him. We saw that when we played Palace at Selhurst Park last season, also at Old Trafford. The positive sign for me is that we do seem to have sorted ourselves out, and that move doesn't seem to cause us too many problems anymore. But if we don't have Van Dijk in the side, then Joel Matip will just have to be so vigilant when playing against Giroud that he doesn't A, allow Giroud to win those kind of knockdowns, and B, doesn't allow Eden Hazard too much space in behind him. So Liverpool will have to be defensively wary as well, but I think the best thing about that is that really Chelsea need to win this game more than we do. And it was a similar situation when we played Spurs as well, because they were already 3 points behind us. And you look at Liverpool and you think, you know what, a draw wouldn't be that bad in this game. Whereas Chelsea, because they're 2 points behind Liverpool, probably really need a win, especially because it's at home as well. And hopefully that does mean that they slightly overcommit. Hopefully it means that, you know, we have Marcos Alonso bombing on and leaving all the space in the world down that right-hand side for Liverpool to exploit. And hopefully it means we can just get those goals on the counter-attack, win this game, get 3 points, get this absolutely massive week off to a flyer with the game against Chelsea, and then hopefully go to Naples and play Man City and make it a perfect week with all 9 points. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, then why not give it a like? If you're new around here as well, hit that subscribe button there. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back tomorrow evening after Liverpool hopefully smash Chelsea at Stamford Bridge and stay top of the Premier League table. Until then, bye for now.